the nomination of Clarence Thomas of Georgia to be Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court is hereby confirmed.
But this is more time for healing, not a time for anger or for animus or animosity.
Clarence Thomas wins his battle for the Supreme Court and looks beyond the bitter debate.
This is NBC Nightly News with Tom Brokaw. Tonight, Judge Thomas, the final vote. Now reporting from the Capitol in Washington, here is Tom Brokaw.
Good evening. 106 days after a little-known federal appeals court judge was invited to Kennebunkport, Maine, and offered the chance to shape our nation and our history, Clarence Thomas tonight was confirmed to the U.S. Supreme Court. It was a beginning and an end, a new voice for the court, the end of one of the most wrenching political battles this country has ever endured. The vote in the Senate was 52-48. NBC's John Cochran is at the White House now. John, what's the mood there tonight?
Tom, the president's aides say he is in no mood to celebrate tonight. They say he feels that the fight over the Thomas nomination caused too much pain for celebrations. After watching the Senate vote on TV, the president called Clarence Thomas to congratulate him. It was a subdued 5-minute conversation. Thomas himself soon emerged with his wife from their home.
First of all, I'd like to say that I'm thankful, we're thankful, that the process is over, that it's finally come to a conclusion after 3.5 months. We look forward, I look forward, my wife, my son, my family, my friends, to getting back to our life and the things that we normally do in our daily lives, which is far different from being a nominee. Throughout this process, as difficult as it's been, we all have learned the importance of God in our lives, of our faith, of family, friends, neighbors, and of love. I think that no matter how difficult or how painful the process has been, that there's a time, this is a time for healing in our country, that we have to put these things behind us, that we have to go forward, and that we have to begin to look for ways to solve problems that I think became apparent through this process and certainly have been apparent in our country for some time. But this is more time for healing, not a time for anger or for animus or animosity.
No one here at the White House is gloating tonight, with more bruising fights ahead on the Civil Rights Bill and the CIA nomination of Bob Gates. President Bush will need the votes of some of those Democrats who reluctantly voted for Clarence Thomas tonight. And next time around, the president may not get those votes. Tom?
Thank you, John. Thomas's narrow victory came after a day of intense Senate debate that displayed raw emotions of anger and hate, hurt and joy. It was a day in which both sides labored mightily, and in the end, the benefit of the doubt went to Clarence Thomas. She has from the beginning. NBC's Andrea Mitchell followed today's Senate debate. Andrea, tell us about it.
Tom, even though Republicans knew they had won, today's debate was angry and at times personal.
Give to the Senate righteous wisdom as it comes to the moment of judgment today.
The Senate has not had much righteous wisdom lately. Today was no different. The bitterness of the hearings spilled over onto the Senate floor.
There is no proof at all that Anita Hill is fantasizing these charges or is mentally unbalanced. And shame on anyone desperate enough to suggest that she is. The treatment of Anita Hill is what every woman fears who thinks of lifting the veil and revealing her sexual harassment.
We do not need characterizations like shame in this chamber from the senator from Massachusetts.
I reiterate to the senator from Pennsylvania and to others that the way that Professor Hill was treated was shameful.
All I can say is that a very good man who many of us know personally has been seriously damaged by these allegations by one woman, unsubstantiated allegations that nobody else who worked with him on a continuing and lengthy basis believes.
Thomas's victory was assured as undecided Democrats began declaring their support, some grudgingly.
I was surprised and disappointed at many of his statements Notwithstanding my reservations as to the nominee, I intend to vote for confirmation, but without enthusiasm.
Since both were credible, however, and since it is impossible to get to the bottom of this matter, I think we have to fall back on our legal system and its presumption of innocence for those accused.
The sex harassment charge did persuade Byrd of West Virginia, a Thomas supporter last week, to change his mind.
I believe Anita Hill. I believe what she said. I did not see on that face the knotted brow of satanic revenge. I was offended by Judge Thomas's stonewalling the committee. And I frankly was offended by his injection of racism into these hearings. There was a diversionary tactic intended to divert both the committee's and the American public's attention away from the issue at hand, the issue being which one is telling the truth.
On the Senate floor, Anita Hill got the kind of support she had failed to get during the Judiciary Committee hearings.
The treatment that the men in the White House gave to Professor Hill illustrates better than 1,000 psychological studies why women are reluctant to step forward.
Maybe she was deluded into the fact that if she came forth and was a good citizen, she would be protected. Maybe she had fantasies about the fairness of a process she thought she would get in the United States Senate.
To say, but there must be something wrong. She sounds credible. I cannot poke a hole in her story. So there must be something wrong. If that's not stereotypical treatment, I don't know what is.
Democrats are still angry at the White House.
Presidents Reagan and Bush have established as a litmus test for a potential nominee to the Supreme Court that person's position on abortion. The president opposes a woman's right of choice. In order to have any hope of being nominated to the Supreme Court, so must any potential nominee.
Republicans were celebrating and hoping that the damaging confirmation process would be forgotten.
This is a time of joy to us because at one point there were people who were predicting that Clarence Thomas couldn't make it. He's made it. And he's made it from the bottom to the top.
This chapter may not be closed. The Senate still has to confront its own problems, and there is a lot of blood on the Senate floor. Tom?
Thank you, Andrew. From Washington now to Pinpoint, Georgia. Clarence Thomas is very much in the hearts of the 300 people who live in that small town near Savannah, where he grew up. Tonight, they are rejoicing. And NBC's Rick Davis is there now. Rick?
Tom, here in Pinpoint, Georgia, there are small celebrations going on all over this community. But just a couple of hours ago, the celebrating was happening all right here in this room.
The nomination of Clarence Thomas of Georgia to be Associate Justice of the United States Supreme Court is hereby confirmed.
This is how it started as soon as the confirmation vote was announced. It resembled a mini revival meeting led by Leola Williams, Clarence Thomas's mother. She had been ill for days after hearing the terrible things said about her son. The good news seemed to produce a miracle recovery. Half of Pinpoint was here to celebrate with her.
Men and women can talk all they want, but God got the last say so. And that man is going to show all of us and going to make all of them out of a liar. Yeah. All of them.
The gracious people of Pinpoint say this week has been the darkest of their lives, hearing all those negative things said about a Clarence Williams, the man that they have known. But this has been their brightest day. And they are convinced that Clarence Williams will be a good Supreme Court justice for black people, for white people, for all Americans. They are a people of great faith in God and in Clarence Thomas. Tom?
Thank you, Rick. Leola Williams is the mother of Clarence Thomas, after all. When Nightly News continues in a moment, We'll hear from some college students in Georgia and what they think about Clarence Thomas.
You've been up in the air for hours. Now you've got to make up the time. Aren't you glad Hertz has a faster, easier way to rent a car? #1 Club Gold. No paperwork, no stopping at counters, nothing to slow you down. You go straight to our Gold parking area, where your car is waiting, ready to go. It's our fastest way to rent a car.
I'm gonna make it.
Call Hertz today for low daily rates on Lincolns with free unlimited mileage.
We're America's wheels.
By noon, her fever was climbing, and now she has a hacking cough and a raw, sore throat. Kate Porter has the flu. She needs Theraflu, soothing hot liquid relief to ease flu symptoms fast. Theraflu, your flu misery stops here.
Extra Strength Maalox Plus, the strongest antacid there is, now comes in extra strength tablets. Stronger than Tums, stronger than Rolaids. New Extra Strength Maalox Plus, now in tablets.
My doctor told me it's the strongest. My stomach tells me it's fast.
Clarence Thomas is only 43 years old. He could influence Supreme Court decisions well into the next century, judgments that will affect the lives of young people now in school. NBC's Deborah Roberts is with some of them tonight at Morris Brown College in Atlanta. Deborah?
Tom, here at Morris Brown, a predominantly black college, students who will be affected by Clarence Thomas's ruling for years to come are somewhat divided over what to expect from Thomas now that he is on the Supreme Court. Here to talk with me about that are Tasha Vincent and Kenneth Brannon, both sophomores here at the school. Tasha, you had some reservations. You weren't that wild about Judge Thomas being confirmed early on. You said you've changed your mind. Why?
I've changed my mind because I've seen how Judge Thomas had to struggle to understand that there are people against him from the beginning all the way up to the very end. So he sees how we as black children, young adults, and elderly people have to struggle with being black in America and all over the world. So I believe that he has changed simply because of that struggle.
Now, what were your worries about Judge Thomas on the court?
The only worries that I had was that he was not going to look at women fairly in the beginning because of the Anita Hill trial. And I was worried about that.
All right, Kenneth, let's move over to you. You were supportive of Judge Thomas from the beginning. His mother says tonight he's going to shock a lot of people. What do you think about that?
I believe the same thing. I believe that Judge Thomas will shock the world. From the beginning, I was with him, and I'm with him more now because I feel that the experiences that he went through will make him more of an equal person to help more with the black people and the people that he represents.
So you're not worried tonight?
Not at all.
All right, Kenneth and Tasha, thanks a lot. Tom, a lot of different opinions here at Morris Brown. This morning we heard a lot of students siding with Thomas, if nothing else, because they felt sympathetic toward him because of what he had gone through. But, of course, now a lot of students will be debating this, I guess, trying to figure out what to expect. Back to you, Tom.
Thank you very much. Deborah Roberts in Atlanta tonight, and as Americans renew their debate about the political process, they might very well listen for the wisdom of youth. NBC's Roger O'Neill now on how some of today's kids truly are concerned about the whole process.
They're not old enough to vote yet, and the idealism of youth still shines brightly. But for these students of political science and economics, we have only ourselves to blame for a government they believe is in crisis.
Until we stop setting up politicians as symbols and start looking at them as people, we're not going to get... nothing is going to change. It's going to be the same theatrical game that we have now.
These high school students at Cambridge, Rindge, and Latin School think hypocrisy was the only clear message coming out of Washington this weekend.
Politics is a big game, and everyone in it subjects themselves to criticism from everyone. I think when they get all the power, it just goes all to their head, and they forget what they set out to do.
Some of these students say they were interested in politics, but now aren't so sure.
I personally am afraid to run for office, seeing how maybe I did something way back when that they're going to drag out.
And I'm afraid that the process somehow will drain me of my conviction because you have to justify yourself over and over and over.
What do you think of this going
From these 8th graders at Colorado Academy in Denver, almost unanimous agreement. To be in public life demands full disclosure, even if the laundry is dirty.
I think it should be public because this is a democracy. We should know about people who, in the future, he's going to make decisions affecting us directly.
Despite their age, these youngsters are already cynical of government and the process they've been watching.
This whole thing, I mean, it didn't prove anything.
Faced with inheriting a government they do not think works very well now, this next generation of voters has some idea of how to fix it.
The people, the actual people who are running the system, who are, you know, giving it the bad image.
The longer they're in there, you know, they start to change a little bit.
Without saying it, these 8th graders want what a growing number of adults say they want: term limits, the return of a citizens' Congress. Roger O'Neill, NBC News, Denver.
When Nightly News continues in a moment, we'll take a look at the new sensitivity in this country towards women's issue, especially towards sexual harassment in the workplace.
It's 6 o'clock. You're coming home for supper tonight. You work all day. You wake up an appetite.
Hey, Mom, what's for dinner?
I wonder what minute is cooking up for dinner tonight.
How about stir-fried chicken and broccoli in a tangy Oriental sauce with minute rice? Because minute rice makes all your recipes taste great. Now that's something to come home to.
Just look for a minute. It's cooking up for dinner tonight.
Luxurious new Chrysler LeBaron series starting at under $14,000. The perfect balance between self-indulgence and common sense.
Now choose 770 powertrain or 336 bumper-to-bumper protection.
I think we should get this Gold Star VCR. It's a great price.
It's got a remote control and a 14-day timer as a snap to program.
Snap, I can't even set my watch.
I'll teach you, Daddy.
Okay, but be patient with me.
Oh, look at these incredible snack-sized Hershey bars. Reese's Peanut Butter Cups, Kit Kats, Almond Joys.
You better have those when I come around trick-or-treating.
Well, how will I know it's you?
I'll be disguised as the world's largest sweet tooth.
I figure if Kmart can change, so can I.
Oh, that's nice, dear.
One of the key questions remaining after this debate: what effect will it have on women who say that they have been sexually harassed? Soon after tonight's vote, I spoke with Louise Lamothe, a prominent Los Angeles lawyer who's had extensive experience with the issue of sexual harassment. And I asked her whether a lot of women, seeing what happened to Anita Hill, now will not come forward with charges of sexual harassment.
Well, Tom, I would say this. I think there are some aspects of the hearing over the weekend that would give women pause about coming forward. But I do also think that each case stands on its own facts.
Isn't part of the problem that we really don't know in a kind of statutory sense just what sexual harassment is?
Well, I think that there is some concern about that. And certainly, Tom, you know, it's an area that has just recently come into the public spotlight, has been recognized, I think, by the public really only in the last 5 years or so, since the Supreme Court spoke in the Vinson case.
Given the crowded conditions of the nation's courtrooms already, wouldn't it be better for corporations and institutions, for that matter, to develop in-house procedures to deal with all of this?
Well, I can certainly tell you that I'm sure there is no employer aware in this country who has looked at these hearings and has not thought we'd best get a good written sexual harassment policy on the books. And I believe that that's very good advice indeed. And also, I think an investigation procedure, a good complaint procedure, all of these are things that can go a long way toward insulating employers from liability in situations such as this.
But even if you do all of that, given the vagueness of it all, isn't there a good possibility that you could still end up in court?
Well, certainly suits can be brought, but in this particular instance, I think you can really see how difficult it is for a woman who would have to endure the kind of questioning that Anita Hill had to endure over this weekend. Certainly an area where the man portrays himself as a victim and where the woman is really attacked as if she were on trial. So these are not necessarily easy cases for women to bring.
When Nightly News continues in a moment, John Chancellor with a commentary on the political process gone wrong.
Ford Motor Company. Profiles in quality. Teamwork.
We work good as a team here on a job like this where all four of us can work together.
That's what I said in '82. And today, teamwork is more important than ever.
Our paint job is only as good as a primer coat.
My primer coat's only as good as the body prep.
My body prep starts with a quality body panel. Together,
our goal is to build
the highest quality cars and trucks
in the world.
At Ford, quality is job one.
It's gone. But it isn't.
Vicks introduces an incredible new cough drop.
It's gone, but it isn't.
A cough drop so powerful, it keeps on working even after the drop is gone. It's extra strength Vicks, a new kind of Vicks with twice the Vicks Vapor Medicine to relieve your cough and help your scratchy throat and stuffy nose feel better, even after the drop is gone. New extra strength Vicks, extra strong to work.
Even after it's gone.
In art, matters of taste are often subjective. But in life, good taste is well defined. Fancy Feast gourmet cat food. In a bold single-serving can. Exceptionally moist, uniquely delicious. For a gourmet taste to satisfy even the most discriminating connoisseurs. Fancy Feast. Good taste is easy to recognize.
Take a 3, 4, or 7-day fun ship vacation to the Bahamas, Caribbean, or Mexican Riviera on Carnival, the most popular cruise line in the world.
Don't get hit by an annual fee. Carry the card that doesn't charge one. And keep yourself out of the hole. It pays to discover.
John Chancellor's in New York now. He's been watching these proceedings today, and he has some thoughts tonight in his commentary on the Senate vote. John?
Tom, as far as I'm concerned, they were both lynched in a modern media lynching. Witness after witness, hour after hour, every word on NBC, ABC, CBS, PBS, CNN, C-SPAN, Court TV. Instead of cartoons last Saturday morning, little kids in this country watched grown-ups talk about porn movies in private parts. Here's how this unnecessary calamity happened. Millions of women voters came to believe that the Judiciary Committee had sloughed off Anita Hill's accusation that she'd been sexually harassed. They howled with rage and lit up congressional switchboards. Angry women forced the committee to pay attention to the harassment charges. At this point, the committee could have heard Professor Hill and Judge Thomas in private, in executive session. No cameras, no reporters. Every senator could have read that record. There might have been news leaks, but a dozen leaks in newspapers wouldn't have been as bad as what happened. What happened was that the committee threw open its doors to full press coverage. The committee members wanted the publicity. They wanted voters to see them being fair to women. And because all this was both dramatic and important, it got covered live on NBC, ABC, CBS, PBS, CNN, C-SPAN, and Court TV. The Republicans then trashed the professor and the Democrats trashed the judge. And in the end, they both became victims of a modern media lynching. The bad thing is that if the committee hadn't wanted the publicity, none of this might have happened. Tom?
Thank you, John. There are all kinds of interesting dimensions to all of this. Clarence Thomas is principal sponsor in the U.S. Senate. Senator John Danforth of Missouri. He is an heir to the Ralston Purina fortune, a patrician man, an ordained Episcopal priest. His great friend, somebody that he said he came to love, was Clarence Thomas, born poor and black in Pinpoint, Georgia. Tonight they have so much to celebrate, and we're told that Senator Danforth has gone to Clarence Thomas's house to do just that. How do they celebrate? Well, of course, with a great common denominator, with pizza. We'll be back after this.
It's 6 o'clock. You're coming home for supper tonight. You work all day. You wake up an appetite.
Hey, Mom, what's for dinner?
I wonder what minute is cooking up a dinner tonight.
How about stir-fried chicken and broccoli in a tangy Oriental sauce with minute rice? Because minute rice makes all your recipes taste great. Now that's something to come home to.
Just look 1 minute, it's cooking up a dinner tonight.
It is one thing to accelerate from a standing start. Quite another at high speed. Infiniti designed the Q45 to do both. With a variable valve timing system so advanced there is no compromise at any speed. Infiniti has, for the first time, blurred the lines between luxury and performance.
Searching for the perfect shave? Let Norelco show you what it's like from the inside. Here, there's a system for a close, comfortable shave that exists in no other razor. Our patented lift and cut system lifts the hair so when it's cut, it can actually drop below skin level without the blades even touching your face. So to look better on the surface, remember, Norelco shaves below the surface. Norelco, we make close, comfortable.
With the chalky taste of some antacids, it can seem that the cure is worse than the pain. Introducing new Mylanta Cherry and Cool Mint Creams, the best tasting antacids, blended creamier for a non-chalky taste.
No wonder my doctor said Mylanta.
Because sometimes the day ends and the pain doesn't. We're introducing new Tylenol PM with extra strength Tylenol pain reliever plus a gentle ingredient to help you sleep. New Tylenol PM so you can rest easy.
The reason, of course, all of this is so important is that Clarence Thomas now has one of 9 votes that will define so many of the big issues in our lives. Think about the Supreme Court in the last 40 or 50 years or so. School desegregation, the public accommodation part of the civil rights law, one man, one vote, capital punishment, abortion, and, of course, we don't know what's going to come up in the future, but Clarence Thomas will be there, and he'll be helping to make the judgments about these important and overarching issues. NBC's Andrea Mitchell is standing by now. Andrea, as we look over the political landscape, what are some of the issues that you think that Clarence Thomas may be voting on?
Well, he won't be on the court in time for tomorrow's arguments on the First Amendment issues involved with the Wichita, Kansas anti-abortion protests. But he will be on the court probably by next Monday, and there are affirmative action cases coming up in the near future. There are criminal cases, issues of the death penalty, job preferences, busing, all of the hot-button issues that you just defined. So Clarence Thomas will be a major participant in defining which direction this country goes toward in the future. Now, of course, he won't be a deciding vote. The court was already very much swinging toward the right, but he will be there for so many decades, given his young age at 43, that conceivably he will be a very important voice for a long, long time to come.
And, of course, a lot of the concerns of the Democrats is that he will be an acolyte, if you will, certainly a student of Antonin Scalia, who is the powerful and very conservative and intellectual voice on the court.
Yeah, and the importance of Justice Scalia is not just his conservatism, but as you point out, he is a strong, fierce, persuasive man, a highly intellectual man, a dominant figure, one who has written opinions that have been dissenting opinions, in fact, that have been bitter and argumentative, and someone who could conceivably have Thomas as an ally.
Thank you very much, Andrea Mitchell. The other enduring lesson of the court is that we never know how a justice will behave once he or she gets there, of course. That's Nightly News for now. I'll see you tonight following your late local news with a special report on all of this.
Would you like to come in?
A husband follows his wayward heart, while a man follows his upward ambitions.
I want to run my own campaign in my own way.
Agreed.